Hi there, the name's Nico, and today I'll be explaining to you the basics of augments and what augments you should use on each character. Augments were added a week ago and they can make or break a fight. So let's go over the augments. The first augment we'll look at is from the Havoc Tree, Frailty Infliction. Frailty Infliction is one of the only core augments you can run on everyone. Everyone will use a basic attack or skill at least 3 times in a fight. This augment is not that strong overall, but I would use any other augment if possible, but if you have no other choice, this will be your go-to augment. The next core augment in the Havoc Tree is Frenzy. Now Frenzy is a really good augment. This increases your attack power and attack speed after using a weapon skill for a short period of time. Here's a list of characters that can do really well with this augment. Generally speaking, if you are playing an E-bad character or characters with a big burst after using a weapon skill, such as assault rifle characters or rapier characters, this is your go-to augment. The last core Havoc Tree augment is Vampiric Bloodline. This is also a really good augment. You gain some Omni Siphon up to 4 times, and after you reach max stacks, you also gain Spell Amp. Here's a list of characters that can do really well with this augment. Generally speaking, if you're playing a character that really only uses their spells and their skills are on a pretty short cooldown, this is the augment you want to run. The first sub Havoc Tree augment is Stopping Power. This augment can be run on everyone, but it's not that strong. If you can't really utilize one of the other augments on this tree, this is the one that you want to use. The next sub-augment we'll look at is Dismantle Goliath. This augment allows you to do more damage to people with more HP than you. This is a list of characters that should run this augment. General advice I would give you is that if you're below 1500 HP, you should definitely run this augment. If you're below 2000 HP, it is okay to run this augment, but this will depend on who is here in your lobby. Remember that a bunch of HP items got nerfed recently, so people will not have as much HP as before. So unless you have a lot of Shukais, Lennoxes, and people that generally stack a lot of HP items such as Sahir, you probably don't want to run this augment. This augment is more of a ranged character augment than melee because ranged characters have less HP than melee characters. Vengeance is the next sub-augment. Vengeance is an augment that gives you bonus damage in the final zone. This augment can be run on everyone, but if you're a character that can consistently make it to the final circle, you should run this augment. This is a list of characters that should run this augment. General advice, if you are playing a scaling character or late game character, this is a good augment to run because you want to take advantage of your strength. The next sub-augment is Spirit Calling. This augment can technically be run on everyone, but I'd only run this augment on characters that require a lot of SP. This augment gives you back some SP when you damage something or someone. This is a list of characters that should run this augment. This augment can be solved in-game by making a bunch of SP drinks and falls off as the game goes on, since the characters that want to run this augment are spellcasters. Most spellcasters want items such as Glacial Shoes and Bracelet of Scotty, and these items have SP regen on them, making this augment less useful. The last augment of the Havoc Tree is Quench. Now this augment got heavily nerfed, and now I would say is not needed on everyone, but you can run it on everyone and it isn't a bad thing to run. This augment deals more damage and provides Omni Siphon when attacking animals and androids. This is a list of characters that should run this augment. Because of the nerfs to this augment, I would only run this augment if your character has bad animal clear or objective clear or relies on farming animals a lot until the late game. The first augment in the Fortification Tree we'll look at is Diamond Shard. This augment is restricted to characters with immobilization spells. Immobilization includes stuns, knockback or knock-up effects, roots, anything that causes your target to be immobilized. This augment can increase your defense after immobilizing an opponent, does skill damage after a short period of time around you, and slows if they are hit by this damage. This is a list of characters that can run this augment. This augment is really strong if you can run it, and if you want to play in a more defensive style, or you have enough damage as is. Ironclad is the next fortification augment. Ironclad reduces the damage you take for a short period of time, increases your damage, and grants you tenacity. Everyone can run this augment, but if you can run a different augment such as Diamond Shard, Frenzy, or Vampiric Bloodline, I'd run those. Unlike the other augments I mentioned, I will list off the characters that should not run this augment. If you have a weapon skill that is really slow to come out or is not fluid in the way you do damage, I would not use this augment. The last core augment part of the Fortification Tree is Oblivion Can Wait. Now if you saw my tier list, spoiler alert, I put Oblivion Can Wait at the top as the best augment in the game. But the devs have absolutely gutted this augment since that tier list video, and I would say it is one of the worst augments in the game. This augment reduces the damage taken from basic attacks and reflects it back to your opponent as cellular damage. The numbers on this augment suck, so I would not run this augment on anyone at this point, but you can run this augment on everyone as there is no restriction. The first sub-augment part of the Fortification Tree is Embolden. This augment is restricted to characters that have a shield or heal from a skill. This augment increases your defense after using or activating your shield or are healed from a spell. Please note that this augment is also triggered if you are using Quench, as you heal from Quench when using a skill. But since animals are not a reliable way to trigger Embolden, I would only run this augment on characters with a shield or healing spell. These are the characters that can run this augment. This augment is fine to run if you can. Cavalcade is the next augment. Cavalcade was really strong in duos and squads before it got cut in half. In solos, this is not the best augment to run. This reduces the damage you take depending on the people within a certain range of you, including you. Everyone can run this augment, but I would not run this augment in solos over some of the other fortification augments. The next sub-augment we'll look at is Steadfast. Steadfast is not a bad augment to run. You take reduced damage when immobilized. Everyone can run this augment, and if you need a blue sub-augment, I would run this one. Dulled Blades is next. Dulled Blades is a really situational augment, as it only works against characters that build critical strike chance. This augment reduces the amount of critical strike damage you receive for a short period of time. Everyone can run this augment, but I would not run this augment unless there are a lot of users that build critical strike chance in your lobby, such as Fiora, Yuki, some Kiaras, some Jackies, and some Lukes. The last augment of the Fortification Tree is Reinforced Armor. This augment is really strong only if you have a build that revolves around this augment. This augment increases the effectiveness of damage reducing stats, excluding defense. These stats are skill damage reduction, critical strike damage reduction, extra basic attack damage reduction, and extra skill damage reduction. Unlike the other augments, I would only run this augment if your build contains at least one, but ideally 2 or more of these items. Now, if you're only building Battlesuit, I would honestly run this augment, as unlike the other pieces, this augment has 3 damage reduction stats while everything else on this list only has 1, making it incredibly effective. The first core support augment we'll look at is Healing Factor. Now, if you watched my augment tier list video, I thought this augment may be stronger than I thought it was, but I have not really seen much use of it. This augment increases the amount of healing you receive or the amount of damage your shield absorbs. Then you gain attack power and healing reduction immunity for a short period of time. Now, to be honest, I've only seen this augment on Jackie because you mainly want to run this augment if you're building heavy lifesteal. But most characters that run lifesteal do not have a healing spell or a shield built into their kit, making this augment kinda useless. But I will list the characters that can run this augment, but I would definitely say this is not a primary choice for characters other than Jackie. Healing Drone is the next augment in the support tree. Healing Drone is a pretty generic augment that can be run on anyone that uses their ultimate, which is the majority of the cast. This augment heals you for a short period of time after you use your ultimate. This will also heal any allies within a short range of you. I will also list the characters that should not run this augment. Generally speaking, if you have an ultimate with charges or a fuel type system, this augment is not the best because you don't have the best control over it. Like with Sylvia as an example, you may hop onto your bike when you're full health, which does not really help you. The last core augment I'll go over is Amplification Drone. This augment is really strong if you can utilize it well. This augment increases your movement speed and spell amplification. Here's a list of characters that should run this augment. My general advice is that if you have an ultimate that is used as an execution, then this augment is best for you because you can use your ultimate earlier in a fight to finish them faster. The first augment in the support tree is Thorn Shackles. Thorn Shackles is a really strong augment if you can use it. This augment increases the amount of damage your opponent receives after immobilizing them for a short period of time. Many people run the support tree just for this augment. Here's a list of characters that can run this augment. The main problem with this augment is that you need to take a second augment from the support tree, so unless you can use Thea effectively or think assembly is worth it, then most people will not take this augment over an augment in the Fortification or Havoc Tree. But this is one of the stronger sub-augments in the game. Assembly is the next augment we'll look at. This augment is pretty generic and can be run on anyone that uses their ultimate. This augment grants you and your allies a shield after using your ultimate. This is an augment that is definitely better in team modes because you can give a shield to your allies. But since they nerfed Assembly, it's not nearly as good. But if you really want to run Thorn Shackles or Thea, then this would be the augment to run it with. The next sub-augment in the support tree is Logistics. This augment is probably one of the worst for experienced players, but it's good for new players or if you have a rep that does not make great food. This augment gives you 1 healing potion plus 1 per person on your team, including you, every night. This augment can be run on everyone, but I would not recommend you doing so unless you are new to the game and are learning food recipes. You can check out my food guide for more information about food so you can learn to make your own food. Similar recipes are outdated, but is mostly accurate. You may run this augment if you really need to run one of the other support augments and can't run one of the previous two augments or the augment I'll mention next, and or you cannot use both of the Fortification Tree and Havoc Tree. Thea is the next sub-augment in the support tree. This augment is really good on characters that do a lot of long-range poking. This augment gives you more vision range at night. Here's a list of characters that like this augment. If you can run Thorn Shackles as well, this will be your ideal tree to pick. I will highlight the characters that could run both. As mentioned, this is good on ranged characters that have spells with short cooldowns. Generally with these characters, nighttime is one of their biggest weaknesses because they might not even have vision of where their spells can hit. So by running this augment, you can remove this weakness or make it not as bad of a detriment. The last augment in the game at the time of this video is Urban Warfare. This augment has really limited uses and really only good on a handful of characters. This augment increases your attack power if an opponent steps on one of your traps, as well as grants you defense if you step on one of your opponent's traps for a short period of time. Here's a list of characters that would use this augment. For this augment, for some reason, Nadine's squirrel traps and Bernice's bear traps count as traps, which for all other cases they do not, so it is a weird exception in my opinion. But you only want to run this augment if you build a lot of traps, which most people do not. To know specific augment combinations that people run, I would head over to doc.gg and check out the character tab. They have a list of the most popular augments run for each character, but currently it is preseason, so some of the augment combinations are not fully accurate. So use the information I provided in this video to determine if that augment is right for that character. I swear, if I see any of you run Dismantle Goliath on Lennox, these are all the augments at the time of this recording. If you like this video, please give it a like and let me know if you like these types of videos, and if you like the travel trend as much as I do, consider subscribing. I hope to see you at the next video.